me, or is Reno Ichikawa suspicious as all get out? Hello, my wonderful viewers, and welcome to another episode of Betty Adams Overanalyze. Today we're going to be taking a fully spoilery look at Kaiju number 8, episode 6. Now, there will be no spoilers from the manga in here. Everything I'm talking about will be strictly from the 6 episodes of the anime up to this point. But we are going to discuss a lot all the way up to episode 6, so you have been warned. If you don't want any spoilers, I'm going to give you a chance to click away now by telling you to go check out the links below the video to get yourself a copy of my book, Humans Are Weird, Let's Work It Out, a collection of short, absurd science fiction stories. Also, to satisfy the YouTube algorithm, please click that like and subscribe button and leave a comment vaguely related to what the topic of the video. Alright, Reno Ichikawa. We love the boy. He has been loyal, very loyal, to the main character, to Kafka Haibino. And putting everything together, that's a little sus. And with this one scene in episode 6, I felt confident enough that the anime has built this up enough that I can talk about it now. You see, who was there when that Yoju attacked Kafka out of the blue that injured him and sent him to the hospital? Reno. What do we know about Reno before he shows up? Nothing. 6 episodes in, he's arguably the second most important character, and we know nothing about his backstory. That at some point, he claims to have gone to a smaller Kaiju Defense Force base during grade school. But he shows up, he starts working with Kafka, with the Kaiju Cleaners. The same Kaiju Cleaner office and company that we see that suspicious character is wearing the uniform of at the end of episode number 6. You look into the scene where Kafka is attacked by the little dragonfly kaiju. How did that little dragonfly kaiju get into Kafka's room? Who is there? Reno. We know that the window is closed because we see the window closed. Now that little dragonfly kaiju counts as vermin. And hospitals for thousands of years have been in an arms race with vermin. They have been fighting and struggling to keep rats and insects and cockroaches. Anything that can infect a person, hospitals are specifically designed to keep them out. Their entrances are sealed, their windows are tight. The modern hospital, one of its goals is to keep creatures like that little kaiju out. So how did it get in? Did it come through the door? Maybe, but it would have had to go around Reno to go through the door. Did it slide through the window? The window is sealed shut. Did it come skittering through the vents? Maybe. But the vent systems in hospitals are again specifically designed to prevent the passage of creatures exactly that size and exactly that body type. So, how did it get in there unless it came in with Reno? Maybe. But Reno was suspiciously understanding of the situation. Kafka barely has to say anything at all to convince Reno. Reno freaks out when he sees Kafka talking, but that could have been an act. And then Reno is immediately down protecting Kafka, keeping Kafka and Kaiju number 8 safe from the defense force. Reno then dedicates himself to keeping Kafka safe. There are these certain things that Reno says that are perfectly in line with normal shonen tropes. But one of Matsumoto's skills is hiding important information behind common shonen tropes. Reno says he can't abandon Kafka on multiple occasions. Is that because he's just that kind of guy? He's just that good of a friend after one day of knowing Kafka? Or is it because Kafka is his target, his experiment? There is no evidence for this. No clear evidence, but there's all these little oddities. And one oddity that showed up in the anime that did not show up in the manga in episode number 6. That's when it's outright suspicious. You just have Reno being socially awkward. And you have the scene making a point of Reno being socially awkward more so than anyone else. In episode number 6, when they're all perched on top of that building, ready to go jump into the fray, Iharu the red-haired punk guy, he gets all caught up and he gives a battle cry. Now, in a military situation like this, one person in the unit gives the battle cry and the rest of the unit responds. So it's perfectly natural that Iharu gives the battle cry and there's a half beat before the rest of the unit responds. We see him go, woo! And the unit goes, yeah! And then, but Reno is tremendously startled and disturbed. Reno doesn't understand this social dynamic that Iharu is initiating here. He's startled and he sees Iharu scream and it freaks Reno out, and then the rest of the unit screams back the call and response that you get from battle cries in units like this. Only then, after Reno observes the other Defense Force officers responding, does he respond in like kind. And you can tell that he's unsure what he's doing. The whole situation is very awkward. Kafka too has a delayed response, but he's confident and calm and cool with the whole situation. You can tell Kafka clearly understands the social dynamic that's going on here. He was just so focused on what he was thinking, his response was a bit delayed. Kakaru doesn't respond at all because she's above it all, which is in line with her character. Reno was the only one who was startled by this concept. Reno was the only one who was socially awkward enough in that moment to not understand why Aharu was screaming. And there's just this whole thing that Reno is just slightly different from everybody. He's slightly off. And he does have white hair and purple eyes, which sets him out inherently as a sketchy manga anime character. And that really is all there is to this theory. Reno was suspiciously in place where weird things happened, where Kafka was attacked by that random Yoju. Reno was there when the little kaiju showed up out of nowhere, somehow sneaking into a hospital that is designed specifically to keep vermin out. Reno was suspiciously ride or die for Kafka as soon as this happened. Reno has dedicated himself to taking care of this random friend he just made. Reno is socially awkward, not understanding these basic human recall and response tactics that he should know, having supposedly grown up in the same culture as the rest of his unit. And so Reno is sus. What am I suspicious of? Well, in this episode, we also see an interesting thing. We see something we didn't see in the manga, an expanded where Mina is laying out the battle tactics. This is several long seconds of important information that explains more about the situation. And in this, it wasn't in the manga. We got a much fewer details, which makes sense. The anime generally has time to give the story a little more room to breathe. Then, in the same episode, we have an expanded form of this scene that takes Reno's social awkwardness and amplifies it. This is because episode 6 expanded on the scene because it helped us understand how the Defense Force works. It's important. It shows what the Defense Force is doing and how they attack Kaiju, which is obviously an important ongoing part of the story. So why did it take that moment to expand on Reno's social awkwardness, his inability to understand human culture? In, I might note, a similar way to how the kaiju that infiltrated the exact same kaiju cleaner unit had that inability to understand human culture with the phone. Another call and response, as it were. So you have a very interesting scene here. One from the previous episodes, what was that, episode 2 or 3, where the kaiju that can hide out as a human is in the bathroom, and he gets his own call and response that he fumbles. He doesn't understand it. Then you have Reno up there on the roof with his unit, having graduated from that same kaiju cleaner group. Reno gets a call and response that he doesn't understand, and he stumbles over it and handles it awkwardly. It's an interesting bit of mirroring. And again, the scene did not show up like that in the manga. But it does show up like that in the anime. So the scene is expanding on something that is important. What is it important? Is it important that Reno is socially awkward, that he didn't have the same upbringing as the other people around him, as everyone else in his unit? Yeah, it could be just that. We don't know at this point. Again, it's no spoiler to say that these questions haven't been answered in the manga yet. But it could also be, going only on the information that we have in the anime, that Reno is sus, that Reno has some tie to the kaiju, that maybe he's not tied directly to kaiju number 9. Maybe he is. Maybe there's a cult of kaiju worshippers out there and Reno's part of that. No one knows. We don't know. But I don't think that Reno's backstory is as simple as he's just the loyal Sam to Kafka's Frodo. I really think that the hints dropped between episodes 1 and 6 suggest that there's something suspicious to our white-haired, purple-eyed Reno Ichikawa. But what do you think, my wonderful viewers? Some side notes: I really enjoy the animation of the core. That glittering, glowing rainbow thing was not something that we got to experience in the manga, and so I was really happy to see that. The scene was amazing. The way it shows her powering up. And there is a very, very important thing that Mina Scenes illustrates. Her standing up there with that handheld cannon and blasting away. If you look at that scene, her weapon does not just release a blast forward, it releases a smaller, less intense blast backwards. Now, this is an illustration of Matsumoto's dedication to the science of physics, of Matsumoto saying, okay, I know that I've created a world where giant kaiju exist, and we know that that's physically impossible in the real world. I am going to take that one thing, and around it, I'm going to tether it to the laws of physics. For every action, there was an equal and opposite reaction. When Mina blasts out enough power to flatten a kaiju in one of that size of that bungo kaiju in one blast, her weapon has to discharge an equal amount of power backwards to prevent her and the weapon from being blasted in the opposite direction. If you've ever seen a big rocket launcher or grenade launcher, you will see that when the rocket goes forward out of the launcher, it tosses a beanbag in the opposite direction to counter the kickback. This is one of the examples of how Matsumoto integrates real-life physics to make his world deeper and more interesting and make it feel more lived in. But what do you think, my wonderful viewers? Do you find Reno Ichikawa as suspicious as I do after the evidence of 6 episodes? Do you appreciate Matsumoto's dedication to physics? Leave a comment below telling me what you think. Hit that like and subscribe button, and peace out, my wonderful viewers.
Drake McCarty's leg was shattered, deep in the wilderness. As the flash flood closed over him, something alien pulled him from the waters. A military base that shouldn't exist. An ancient warrior with secrets of his own. Drake returns to his family with a whole leg and the burden of a secret he doesn't understand. In the forest around them, someone is watching, and something followed him home. Flying Sparks. 90,000 words of science fantasy adventure. The first novel in the Dying Embers universe is now available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kobo by Rakuten, Google Play Books, and from the author as a signed copy. Get your copy now and step into a world where dragons walk the forest, aliens lurk on the mountain, and things go boomp in the night.
Escape into another world with the writings of author Betty Adams. 2 worlds, one of utter absurdity, one of dramatic tension, both alike in aliens absolutely astounded by human behavior. Humans are weird, short, absurd science fiction stories. Flying sparks, dragons, aliens, and things that go boomp in the night.
Books available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kobo by Rakuten, Google Play Books, and at authorBettyAdams.com for a signed copy.